Anyways, how was your vacation? All right.
It was a good vacation, and all I did was housework. But my house is officially
Yeah.
done, and I have a
Nice.
clean garage where the only thing on the ground are vehicles. Everything else is hung up. But like we're
Beautiful.
talking, like retaining walls are done, and
Nice.
the grass is so yeah. It's an old middle-aged man's dream come true.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
but after my stepfather, he's coming to visit. My stepfather leaves. I'm taking like a no joke week off where there's no social media, no working on the house or
Yeah.
anything. So
Yeah.
it was good. I did get some rest in, but yeah, it was a lot of physical labor, but it was all good.
Yeah. That's good for the soul, man. That's good.
Hey,
Yeah.
seeing those retaining walls put in under your own steam and then they're finished, like dang, all right. I mean, it felt like that's one of the more prouder achievements I've had recently. But yeah, I don't mind doing my own work.
I did that once when I was married, like 20 years ago. And one of the first thoughts that came to my mind was, holy crap, there's people that do this every day for a living.
Yeah. And like I could wait if it was like 100 degrees. I'm like, yeah, I'll wait till tomorrow. I'll wait till the evening. Some of those people, they
Exactly.
got, if it ain't raining, they
We're
go.
going to be
Yeah.
talking tonight about the menu, which
Okay.
I read a lot of books. I mean, I have a stack of books going at any given time. And I'm probably reading 3 to 5 books out of a stack of maybe 20. And I just kind of like, when I'm finished one, it goes to the bottom. I'm reading your book. I'm reading the biography of Bela Lugosi, which is an amazing story that was written by a former college professor of mine at State University of New York at Albany. And he was I was a film minor. So his thing was silent film, and we just watched more silent films for a whole year than you can imagine.
Huh.
And it was beautiful. It was actually beautiful because you could focus on the acting, and then he would add like piano stuff, that typical
Mhm.
silent film Charlie
Vaudeville kind
Chaplin
of.
kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But when you're watching stuff with no sound, you really focus on the acting. You focus on the close-ups and the faces and stuff. It's just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So, all right. Well, I'm going to introduce you.
All right.
Here we go. Three, two. Well, hello, my friendly acquaintances. I would like to introduce you to Mr. Aaron Clarey. He's an economist, a new homeowner, right? Am I right? A new
I've owned
homeowner.
homes since I was 24. So I sold
But
my
but
place in the
this
Twin Cities.
but this latest thing is this
Yeah.
this is a kind of a new project for you.
Well,
Is
I
that
built
correct?
it, yeah, not with my own hands, but yeah, it's a new home, both in acquisition and building, and
Oh,
it
that's
is the
great.
first time I've lived in something that's been larger than a one bedroom since I left for college back when I was 18. So I had nowhere near the amount of stuff to furnish it or put art up on the walls. So I had first time ever got to buy furniture, Walmart.com,
Yes.
great, and then even to today, I was working on getting some of my old photos and figuring out which ones to put up on the wall that are the best of the best. And so
Yeah.
getting that all done. But yeah, it's definitely a different experience having more than one toilet in my apartment.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I officially met you last, although I knew of you for many years, I officially met you last May, I believe, in Vegas on a couple different occasions. I believe it was in April and in June. And I remember in April, we had a nice talk and you had a leather jacket on and a helmet. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing? He said, when we're done here with cigars, I'm going to be riding home. And I'm like, boy, this guy is pretty daring.
Uh,
And
yeah, as long as you stay off the main drag in Vegas, you're safe. But yeah, it's not that dangerous out there. But
yeah, that was interesting. And then I remember in June, during the actual conference that we were both speaking at, or I was, no, I wasn't speaking. I was kind of like the
ceremony,
moderator.
yeah, yeah, you're the
Yeah,
host of ceremonies, yeah, master of
yeah,
ceremony. Yeah.
yeah. And then we did an interview after, which I found out that you were a ballroom dance instructor, and
Mm-hmm.
we kind of went off on that. So, and that's a whole nother topic. And then in the past year, I've discovered that you are kind of a minimalist,
Yeah.
and I'm very interested in that. And that's going to be a whole different discussion on another date because I have an audience. My audience is about 171,000, 96% men. It's not your typical men's audience. It's like they're interested in men's development, but I wouldn't call it red pill. I wouldn't call it anything really. It's just guys that are interested in self-improvement in general. And a small percentage, 4 to 5% women who you would think that they are the majority because they speak like they're 90%, but they're a joy to deal with. And I nurture them, I stay in touch with them, and that's what you do when you have an audience. So, and I've been on YouTube for about 6 years now, and it's just getting better and better every day. But you wrote a book. You are an author. We can talk about your other books at another time, but this book here, The Menu, Life Without the Opposite Sex, I have to say, I'll be honest, and I'm not an ass kisser, you know that. I think it's profound because there's so many people that are wringing their hands that they don't have a partner. They're feeling incomplete. And, you know, Jerry Maguire in the elevator with, what's her name?
I'm one of the 3 people who didn't see that movie. I never saw it. But you complete me. I've heard the quotes. Yeah. I've heard the guy. I don't know.
And he's doing it in sign language, whatever, the whole "you complete me" thing, and that just gave a whole generation or two a bunch of unrealistic expectations about relationships, about people completing them. And when in the men's community, in the pickup community, when we were all much younger, there was the whole concept of spinning plates, which is still pretty popular.
You muted yourself, George.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, we are back now. For some muted, I don't know why. One of the things that I kind of shook a little bit of the men's community with was that I said, it's okay to spin plates as long as one of those plates is you. And, you know, you have a date lined up for Friday night, a chick flakes out on you. You don't go running back to the dating site to try to fill that spot. What you do is you say, wow, I have a night free. I get to go out and have a steak or make a steak, have a cocktail, read a book, have a cigar, get a great night's sleep, not have to wash my sheets the next day. And, you know, you are a plate. I respect myself. I am a plate. And a lot of guys they want to fill up their calendar with everything but themselves. That's why I like to say, it's okay to spin plates as long as you are a plate. I remember Roosh wrote something in his blog well over 10 years ago. I believe the name of the article was, I Pray She Flakes.
I might remember that on Return to Kings. Yeah.
And there were times where, you know, you get all ambitious and you just want to like line up the dates and whatever. And then you're just like, you know what? God, I hope she flakes, because I would really just love to stay home and Netflix and chill by myself, me and Papa John or Domino's or whatever. But you answer all of those questions that every man has. I've never had an issue with getting a woman. You've never had an issue getting a woman. I've had problems keeping a woman, but not getting them. Like my dad used to say to me, you can get them, but you sure can't keep them. And that's not an issue. That's nothing that ever grieved me. And I discovered the whole concept of lay monasticism, which is just basically the religious answer to it's okay to be by yourself and serve and live in silence and solitude. There's nothing wrong with that. Your book answers that in a way that just blew me away. I love the way you described it. Talk to the audience about why you wrote The Menu and why it's important.
Well, the main reason is the study that came out by Morgan Stanley, though it merely corroborated what I think we pretty much all suspected. And that was that just under half of women of marrying age, they're forecasting, and by 2030 will be unmarried. And I believe also without children. And the purpose of that study was, and these women are going to have jobs, they're going to be working hard. And it was more of a marketing or a financial, how to capitalize off of that trend. But I looked at that and I said, well, wait a minute. If half the girls ain't getting married, then half the guys ain't getting married either. And so half our population in the near future is not going to have a significant other. And I said, well, wait a minute. Kind of the whole point of human existence was to fall in love and at minimum, I guess, in a Darwinistic sense, procreate. But you would also think there's a little bit of humanity. We're not just all a bunch of insects that want to want to procreate, but there'd be a human side to it. That's being taken off the table. And it doesn't matter whether you're rich, poor, race or whatever. That was at minimum what a human could expect to have in their life. And it gave pretty much everyone before us point, purpose, and reason to live. So a lot of people like, what do we do with it? A lot of people, I got a brother-in-law of mine. He has kids. They don't have an existential crisis of what do I do with my life? They got to keep up with two little young girls running around. Like, that's your job. There's some purpose and reason to live. Make sure they don't go play in the street. Well, that's going to be removed for half the population. And unfortunately, I had a buddy who was an actuary, and he helped me write my previous book called The Book of Numbers, which was an actuarial statistical study on your rates of return on the pursuit of women. He unfortunately decided to take his life. And in part, I speculate, we unfortunately won't know because he's no longer with us, but I speculate it had to do with his, he was a good looking guy. He was really good and rich. I mean, just, but he could not find a girl to commit. He could not find, so he had plates, but he wanted to get married and have kids. And so as that became a less and less likelihood, he took his life. So I figured that this absence of men and women from each other's life is going to present some huge existential hurdles and questions people are going to face, because if you don't find love, you don't find someone else, you don't have kids or have a family, what exactly do you live for in life? And so that's why I came up with the menu, and it literally is a menu. It's even printed off to be rather large, though thin, to be like a menu. And it goes over all the things both men and women can find in life that will give them purpose and reason and value and enjoyment and hopefully happiness, absent the opposite sex. So it doesn't say, oh, give up all hope or anything like that. But in the 1 in 2 chance, if those statistics and forecasts bear out by Morgan Stanley, if the 1 in 2 chance comes along, half of us have to figure out what to do in life. And since we're hardwired genetically, biologically, sexually, et cetera, to pursue the opposite sex, this is going to be a huge blow to a lot of people and their happiness in life. So I want to kind of say, here's what you do so you don't, what we are cryptically calling, take the Fred pill. So you don't want to end your life. We want you to go and live it and enjoy it, whether or not a significant other is there or not.
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the things that I underlined a lot in your book, and I will give you one of your quotes: though men and women have never been this hostile towards one another in all of human history, that does not mean we do not share similar interests or goals. And I agree with that. Man, I'll tell you what, men and women have never been more hostile towards one another. So finding that 50% that might be a candidate to settle with, or to spend time with, or to be a co-pilot with, whatever euphemism we want to use. How do we overcome this hostility?
I honestly say we don't, not in any short order. I'm of the belief that this is the consequence of decades long and trillions of dollars worth of actual cash spending in the forms of education, be that kindergarten through 12 or college, certainly, obviously, and the media and various government political party spending, where I won't beat around the bush, where we've made men the villain and public enemy number one and the cause of all women's problems. Now, to what degree women believe that, it's debatable. But if we look at their general lack of interest in marriage, and keep in mind, this is women not wanting to get married. Now, I'm sure some men also don't want to get married, but you look at women's polling, when you poll women about their priorities in life, marriage is solidly ranked around 5th. So this is largely a women's doing. And I'm sorry, I've lost it. What was the question again? I apologize.
We've been more hostile.
Oh yeah, hostile. Okay, I apologize.
One another.
Yeah. So to undo that, you got to realize that this has been going on for decades. We've invested a lot of money in education and marketing and all that. That you almost have to wait for the next generation of women to come along to not be weaponized against men, to not be told men are your enemy, they're oppressing you. I find it perfectly hilarious where Gen Z, you look at those boys, they have been nothing but compliant, obedient, little beta, good little feminists, and they're still blamed for patriarchy. And so none tell a positive message about men is given to women, or like, hey, they're not all bad and they're not all, evil and misogynistic and all that. So not until that happens are we going to be able to do anything about it. In the meantime, what we can all do on our individual level is kind of what I think, me, other people are doing, where through the internet, we're I hate to say this phrase, but this is a legitimate use of the phrase. We're raising awareness among young men, hopefully reaching out to some young ladies. But if your statistics, my statistics, of course, mine, I think I'm like 93% male and I have only a handful of women. We can get younger men to at least be aware of this, maybe get the message out there. So it no longer does the media and the schools have an outright monopoly and control over this information. So it's out there, but I think it's going to take time for people to tune in and consume an alternative message. But it really is going to be a choice of society where it's like, okay, look, are we going to tell now a fourth generation of young girls that the patriarchy is oppressing them while all we do is celebrate them and bow down at their feet? And until that changes, there really is no hope. So this is kind of something that's given to us. You don't get to change it. This is a what do they call it? This is uncontrolled variable. It is a fact. It is a premise, and you must operate from it. So that doesn't mean you don't hold out that there might be an enjoyable, wonderful woman that likes men and is conducive to a nuclear family or marriage or supporting her man. But this is nothing that's changing next week, next year, even within the next decade.
It's very consistent with what we talk about in our community as seeing the world as it is, not how we want it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that stoicism really is going to play a huge role. And it's a little, obviously it's within the first couple of chapters of that book is like, hey, this is the reality. You don't get to change it. And all you're going to do is hurt yourself, pining, hoping, trying to change it. So certainly do what you can on your own individual level, but for you to enjoy your life and make this one finite life of yours count, you have to play by the rules of reality. Right now, the rules of reality is, I would say most women are well, I could say this with certainty. Most women are definitely not interested in your average man. And unless you're a very exceptional man, you're going to be wasting a lot of time and suffering a lot of angst and mental pain trying to pursue women, assuming it was like the rules of, say, 1961 or something.
Yeah. I remember when I was married, there were times when I would get home pretty quick from work. And especially when I took a job that was 5 minutes from home versus an hour and 10 minutes. And I remember thinking, oh, this is great. I don't have that hour and 10-minute commute anymore. I only have a 5-minute commute. And I would walk in the door from the new job and I realized what that commute, that hour and 10-minute commute did for me. It helped me kind of unwind a little bit, not take the stress of my day home. When I was home within 5 minutes of clocking out of work, my wife could feel the stress in me. She could see that I was bringing work home with me. And she would say to me, will you just go take a ride around the lake on the motorcycle? Because she knew I was a solo rider, and she would go take a ride with me on occasion, but I loved going out around the lake and just tooling around the countryside. And I would go around the lake. It was probably a 22-mile ride altogether, getting to the lake, around the lake, then back, 35, 40 minutes. I'd walk in the house and she would say this to me. She goes, there's my husband. There he is. And she knew that little bit of a 30-minute ride on the motorcycle, me being I'm just thinking about a cowboy riding a horse for a half hour, me out on the iron horse for 30 minutes kind of brought me back. So she encouraged me to do stuff on my own, which made things pretty harmonious around the house. Whereas when I brought home the stress from the day, but we had separate things going on. She had her jewelry making craft room up on the 3rd floor. I had my office down in the basement, and we had time apart. And we needed that time apart. We don't want to be connected at the hip. We don't want to be Siamese twins.
Couple or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How important is it for a man to have his own time and space? And how important is it for a woman, if he has a woman, to give that man his time and space?
It's not an issue of importance. It's mandatory. It's not an option. No, I think the women need their space too. Because I didn't go out with my girl because she does exactly what I do. Thank God. I'm kind of bored of myself after a while. I've been myself for 47 years. I can't think of a more boring person than myself, frankly, because you're like, no, I want you to be different. I want you to. So absolutely, you have to have your own hobbies and tastes and interests and things. And sometimes that's cool if your partner comes with you, but yeah, you definitely need to get away from each other. If for any other reason, the law of supply, like you don't want to flood a market with supply. Nor do you want to make it as scarce as a De Beer diamond, but you don't want, you're going to annoy your partner. You're going to flood it and your value's going to go down. And she probably liked you because of all the things you were doing before. So keep doing those things. So it's mandatory to come up with those hobbies outside of the relationship. And whether there's a relationship or not.
Yeah. And I think for me, a motorcycle provides that for me. I mean, when she would hear that thing rev up, and I'm a Kickstarter guy. Even if the cycle has electric start, I want to kick the damn thing over. So that tells you I can't get a new motorcycle. I got to get something.
About to say, you're gonna have to get something pretty darn old if you're looking for a kickstart engine.
2009 or before. So,
yeah.
But I like the kickstart. When she heard that kickstart, it brought joy to her heart. That means she had 2 hours to just relax, watch a Hallmark movie, and then she just knew that I was different. I'd walk in with the motorcycle grin on my face, like I was just eating bugs for 2 hours. And it changed me. I think men need to do that. Like you said, it's absolutely necessary. What about mental health? The mental health of the guy who feels that he needs a woman in his life and that he's not complete without her. Talk to that guy. There's a lot of guys out there who don't have the social skills, and like, I could just go to a bar, I can just hang out somewhere, and by the end of the night, have a female companion. There's a lot of guys who don't have those kind of skills, and they're just nervous about finding a woman. This book, I think, I've been promoting it as such, can help them feel more at home with who they are by themselves as a single man.
Right. And I would, first, it's accepting what is. And if you're not going to go and talk to girls, then you should accept that you're not going to have girls in your life, and you should do yourself the most basic of favors and not get worked up about it, because you've made the choice. Like if I have an ice cream, you know what I want? In addition to sprinkles and chocolate and everything on it, I want guilt-free sauce on it. So when I have my ice cream, I don't beat myself up afterwards.
Right.
And so for you guys that are either deep down inside too cowardly, or what I think is more commonly the issue, it looks like like going to a nightclub. I look back and I'm like, what a complete stupid waste of time trying to talk to girls, trying to be charming and trying to dance. Like, I was like, man, what a waste of time. I think a lot of guys are just like, dude, I don't want to do it. Then don't, but accept the consequence. There will not be a girl, and that's okay. All right. And that then allows you to go ahead and focus on yourself. So whatever of the truly limitless number of things that the world offers, you could go and enjoy all those and don't even bother worrying whether a girl is there or not. But if you want a girl, the other stoic thing you have to accept is, increasingly so more modernly, your chances aren't that good, and there's a good chance. Well, it's a guaranteed chance you're going to get rejected. That goes without saying. To what degree and what level, that will vary. But it takes work to get a girl, and you will be rejected. But if you want a girl, you have to accept that they are going to reject you. And for some of you, there's a chance they may not want to go out with you. That's very common. Of course, they don't want to go on a date with you, but you also may have to, that girl may not become your wife. That girl may not become your girlfriend. That girl may not want to go on a date with you. And guess what? That's okay too. You just try your best shot. You ask them out. And if it doesn't happen, but be accepting of that you may not get a girl. And then if you let go of that and realize this is not you playing a video game where you are the truly only independent variable and therefore control everything in the video game. There is another human being at the opposite end of this negotiation that has their own thoughts, minds, and preferences, and you may not be one of them. And so I think if men kind of give up the control and the investment in that will calm them down. Also, guys, take it from someone's dated a lot of girls. They're not all that great, okay? We're talking hundreds of frogs to get yourself one princess. And for you guys that all got it built up in your mind that this is some big thing, go down to Pahrump, where it's legal to get yourself a prostitute. go get it over with, go get the girlfriend, do whatever it is. And you'd be like, it's like if you've never had chocolate ice cream before, yeah, I guess, boy, I really want some chocolate ice cream. People are like, well, yeah, it's chocolate ice. I mean, it's good, but it ain't the greatest thing ever. All it is the overvaluation of the unknown. And so to remove that angst or frustration, I have no reservations about guys just paying for it so they know. I'm not saying this is the girl you're going to marry or run off to Bermuda with, but do that so at least you know. But more outside of, just paying for an experience to realize it isn't all that. Check your expectations, get your expectations in line with reality, and be happy and perfectly acceptable with what that reality is, because you don't control it. And once you, okay, I tried my best. If I got there, or you know what, I don't want to. I got all these guys like, they're in their mid to late 20s. Like, do I have to keep going to parties? I'm like, no. Matter of fact, I wish I went to less parties. Well, I won't get girls. You're right. You won't get girls, but you know what? You'll have a night alone, or you'll hang out with your buddies, or you'll ride your motorcycle. And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But so kind of like how girls have done with guys, you guys have got, I'm not saying kick girls out, but certainly reprioritize them so that they're not the number one thing in your life anymore. So that is going to go a long way in making you happier. And in kind of an ironic sense, because you're going to go out and do things that are going to make you happier and do things that you enjoy. You're going to run into girls and consequently have a higher chance of meeting a girl that way than you would. I'm trying to think of, like those nightclubs. Oh my gosh, especially if they're loud music and the girls are drinking. Oh my gosh, it was a horrible environment. Like I could never do that. Never again. So it's perfectly all right to avoid that environment.
Yeah. Speak to widows and widowers. Now, of course, I'm in my 60s and I end up attracting a lot of widows and widowers to my channel. And I have many of them and they reveal themselves on a regular basis. Is there a need to fill that spot on the other side of the bed quickly? Because I can imagine if you're married for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, there's a certain loneliness. And I like to say it's okay to have kind of I like to call it like a little altar to your former spouse, have their picture on it and some trinkets and stuff like that. And for the first couple years, every man is going to kiss the picture of his wife goodnight every night, that kind of thing. But there's going to be a certain time where he's going to have a talk with his wife who's departed and say, honey, I'm going to get back out there again. And I know I got your support. I know a lot of guys, talk like this. Talk to the widow and the widower about getting back out there versus staying single, staying a solo person and not rushing to fill that spot again.
Well, it's up to the individual. I know some people, they got married and Grandpa Bob was it. And Grandma Bob died and Grandma Tilly's there. And Grandma Tilly had no interest in finding any other men because Grandpa Bob was the guy for her. And that's fine. And then some people, they're like, they by luck, they happen to run into someone who's really great. And they might be tormented. Like, I met this really great person. It's only been a year and a half since my wife or my husband passed away. But I mean, it really is up to the individual because you're suffering trauma, at least right up front. So obviously don't be in a rush, to fill that role. But as with anything, again, it's going to be more outside. There's things you could do like go out, be social, but whether you meet that person or not is contingent upon that person showing up. And so again, you only control half this video game. The other person controls the other half, and they are maybe not aware that they're playing this game. And so it's hard to put timelines or anything like that. But if you wanted to get married again and you're ready and you've mourned and you've resolved and got closure, yeah, okay, that's fine. So green lights whenever you're ready. But at the same time, and here some good news is if you're a widow or widower, chances are you're older. Your generation is at least more open to getting married. There's some remnant traditionalism with older people, of course, as well, because they're traditional people. So for the older people, getting married is not submission to the patriarchy. It's maybe it's just marriage. I don't know, and you're happy and you like the guy, but so you're probably in a little bit better spot. And I would not let the war or at least the drama and the chaos happening for younger people in the red pill color your view of I guess, silver dating, dating during your golden years. So, I mean, in that regard, you're fortunate, because I think people who are older are a little bit more receptive. But I've never been married, I've never been divorced, and I certainly have never lost a loved one to death. And so I wouldn't even be able to begin to understand what they're going through. But logic would tell me, it's like, yeah, go and heal and take your time. But no, there's no rush at all. Who knows, that people may want to go out and play the field a little bit and fancy themselves a player. Like, yeah, go ahead, do that too. But
Yeah.
yeah, whatever you want to do, as long as it's in your best interest.
Yeah. I started a series of broadcasts about a month ago called Table for One. And that's based upon my experience of going out solo, going to a movie by myself, going to the box office saying, one ticket for Ex Machina, please. Watching the movie, having a great time, big bucket of popcorn in my lap, a root beer, and I'm trying to think what else I got, like Skittles or something. And then I'd go to the Mexican restaurant at the end of the block and walk in, and they grab a bunch of menus, like right away.
Yeah.
Like right away. And I say, table for one, please. And then the look on their face, and then they look over at the dining area thinking, okay, what tables are we going to separate for this weirdo here? So, and I made a lifestyle out of Table for One. So I do a series of broadcasts live on my channel called Table for One. And the number one purpose is to help these solo folks in my audience to be comfortable with having a table for one.
Right.
It's okay. You eat slower. You put the fork down in between bites.
You
chew your food. Yeah, exactly. And, I found that when I am eating in front of a television, if I make myself dinner, that food is gone in 10 to 15 minutes. But if I'm in a restaurant and I'm enjoying myself and I have like a nice napkin on my lap and a glass of wine, it might take me up to an hour to eat that very same amount of food, because I put the food in my mouth. I literally put the fork down. I'm not going to a fire. It's not a race. And I actually have a great time. And, of course, you get the looks from other people like, oh, is he a widower? Is like you just get odd looks from people because we're so used to seeing couples, in restaurants and social situations. So I've been trying to let people know that it's perfectly okay to be single. Give one last good word of encouragement to the single guy out there who's got anxiety, or the woman out there who has anxiety about not being part of a couple.
Oh, but it's a given. Like, there is nowhere in the history. I don't think there's one human who was not alone or single for a certain percentage of their life. And again, the question is, did you control whether you were single or not? And a lot of times the answer is no. Usually someone dates you, or unfortunately someone passes away. It is irrational. It's wrong. Not morally wrong, but it's erroneous to think, oh my God, I'm single, there's something wrong. It's like, no, you're gonna be single. That's part of life. Oh my gosh, I'm breathing oxygen. It's perfectly all right. And what I would really focus on is, okay, are we programmed to want to have someone else there? Right. But at the same time, as you said, you are your own plate. There is your own self. Now, whether there's somebody else involved in your life or not, why don't you go out and find out and do what you want to do? And you'd be surprised. Now, will that fill the hole? No, it won't. You're always going to probably want someone else. But sitting there moping about it and fearing it is one thing. Going out and like, oh man, it kind of sucks. But then you go for your motorcycle ride, or you go fishing, or you go for a fine dinner, or whatever else like that. You could still go out and have fun. And to me, it's not even a choice. Do I want to stay at home and mope, or do I want to go? Like, for example, right now, my girlfriend's gone for 3 weeks. She's visiting family and all that other stuff. I don't sit here, no, I'm going out and playing poker games. There's a swimming hole in Rapid City where there's a swing off a tree, and it's in the 90s for the next. I always go there probably once a day.
Nice.
I'll go, I'll go for hikes. Because here's the other thing, and you say, well, I don't feel like it. Okay, I understand. You're kind of down on all that. But the other reason you probably want to do this is you're gonna die. I mean, you're good, and you could say, all right, I had a life of watching television, staying home, eating Doritos, and feeling sorry for myself and being lonely. Or I went out there, and you know what? I didn't find anyone, but I found a lot of adventures. I met a lot of people. I made some buddies at the poker table. I joined the Air Traffic Controllers Club or whatever it is. And boy, did we get hammered that one day. It's out there. It's the world's greatest video game. It's called Real Life. And I highly advise you to play it, because the day's coming you won't be able to play it. And whether or not, you find another person, you're like, okay, that'll happen. Don't worry about it. But absent the other person, yeah, go do something, because it's way more fun.
Yeah. How can people find you? How can people find the book, the menu, and the rest of your information?
The easiest way, probably just search my name, Aaron Clarey, AARONCLAREY. But all my books are on Amazon, and you search the menu, Life Without the Opposite Sex, and you'll find it there along with all my other books. My other flagship site is aholeconsulting.com. It is not Ahole Consulting. It's spelled out. That's if you have questions or needed some kind of consulting advice. That's, I guess, what I'm primarily known for nowadays. And then I also have a YouTube channel. You could find that, where I answer people's questions I get at my consulting company. I kind of Dear Abby it, but using YouTube. And then, even though I haven't really written consistently in a while, I have a blog, captaincapitalism.blogspot.com, but you could go through the archives there if you want. But more modernly, it's my YouTube channel and my consulting site.
Okay, excellent. So, all right. So for consultant, that would be like what some people call coaching. If somebody wants a one-to-one session with you, they can reach out to you for that.
They can, but that's really expensive. My business model is a little different, where you give me your problem and I answer it like Dear Abby, but with lots of yelling and cursing and swearing. And that's the specialty. That's why it's called Ahole Consulting, because if I can curse and swear at you, I can get to your problem much more directly, and it's a lot cheaper. So I do one-on-ones, like in person, but that's $300 minimum, $300 for an hour. And I usually shoo people away from that. It's usually a $35 email, 40-minute video. And what a lot of people, it's kind of communal, where you have a problem. Well, a lot of other people might have that problem. So some people have been kind enough to say, well, make a video of it and put it online, because maybe it'll help out some other people. So it's kind of slowly becoming this body of work. But it's drive-through consulting. It's the McDonald's or Taco Bell of consulting.
Excellent.
It's not the sit-down meal. No.
Excellent. Well, I know once I get the video up, people are probably going to be commenting and asking questions, below the video. So every now and then pop in, and if someone has a direct question, feel free to just say whatever you want and contribute to the conversation. So, Aaron, thank you so much. I hope next time we talk, I would love to talk to you about minimalism.
Okay.
And I love the whole concept of minimalism. And I know you have a lot to say about that, and I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
So, any final words?
No, that's it. Just thanks for having me, George. And, if you're in Vegas again, let me know. Wintertime, of course. But if you ever come out to the Black Hills area during summertime, I'm here. But yeah, it'd be good to see you again.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Aaron.
All right. See you, George.
Take care.